Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. If you guys have been following along, you guys know that we've been doing a series called Ancestral Healing, and I misspelled it all across the place over here, so you guys got to forgive me. Of course, it is a live stream, so the bloopers are included, right? But we always having fun around here. We did have some other people, but I've been so busy that I may have not sent out the links to everybody. So, guys, forgive me. But I do have my wonderful co host with me today. And we're going to come up here. And today is episode 6 of Ancestral Healing, Breaking the Chains of Our Ancestors. It's a deep, embedded look of healing on a new level. And today we're talking about resisting your healing and understanding the consequences of repeating pain. All right. This is deep. We may go in a bunch of different directions, but if you guys got any questions or comments, put them in there and we'll be sure to answer them. If you decide that you want to come on and jump in with us and things like that, let me know. I can shoot you over the link in your DMs, of course, you know what I'm saying? Because we can't have everybody jumping in and things like that. But guys, come and join in the conversation with us and help me welcome my beautiful co-host, Miss Andrea. Andrea, how you doing, my friend?
Okay, Tony, you're really good for my ego. I love it. Thank you. I'm doing awesome. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. If you guys don't know, me and Andrea, we've been really good friends. She's like my sister. She's
From
somebody
another
that I can
mister.
talk with. She keeps me in line as well, right? Because I'm gonna be real honest with you guys, right? There's been a lot of things going on behind the scenes. If you guys follow me on any social media, you guys know we got the magazine, we got the conference, we got all kinds of stuff coming up. I just revamped the Global Grief Network. So if any of you grief workers out there that want to come join a fast-growing network and be a part of something amazing and serving our communities, go over there, Facebook, find us. If you're on LinkedIn, go over there and find us. You know what I'm saying? We'd love to have you. You can come in and join in on a lot of the discussions that we have. We did revamp the panel discussions as well. So amongst all of these different things, of course, Andrea keeps me balanced. She keeps me grounded. She puts me in line too, y'all. So don't let her fool you, right? Her little innocent face, she be putting this boy in line, okay? And it has been a pleasure and an honor to be able to have met her and known her and to develop this series and things like that. And normally we would have a bunch of people up here, but of course I probably dropped the ball on that. So I do apologize to anyone out there. Be a little patient with us, and we're gonna get it there. My friend Ada is here. Ada, I got to give you a call when we get done. So please. Be a little patient with me, okay? Love you. Ada is another one that keeps me alive. She's always saying, Tony, you gotta rest, you gotta sleep. And then she gets on me. I don't know how many times or how many people bully me throughout the day or throughout the week, but it's all good. It's all good.
Listen, Tony, that's why the Creator God created women. Because we got to keep men in check. Listen, He created us to be the helper, right? We're your helpers.
And see that I don't mind that, right? I don't mind that at all because trust me, you already know. We talked about this earlier. I do need a helpers. I need multiple helpers.
And you know what? I think, like, honestly, so because it's so fresh and it just happened between you and I, our conversation earlier. So that's really truly how, when I have people, I don't like yes people in my life because I think yes people are dangerous, right?
Yeah,
and if there's things that I'm not seeing, because my blind spots, we all have them.
Oh, yeah.
I would want those things said to me. So I say to you or to whomever I'm in conversation with, because that's what I would want given back to me if that was the need. So, I'm always happy to crack the whip a little bit.
And you know what? To be honest with you, it's always a good thing to have people to keep you grounded, right?
Definitely.
Because me, for one, I don't have anyone to tell me no.
Right.
And I think that is the reason why I do the things that I do. Because for one, I go with what's in my heart. I really do. I go with what's in my heart. And I can find myself in many of places just because I love the challenge of being able to do things, right? To be creative, to allow my gift to take me places that are just unexplored, and to honestly to try, well, not try to inspire other people to do better than me, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. And
now,
that can take us, and not alone,
right,
when
right,
that's the assignment and the mission that we're on,
uh-huh,
that alone creates its own momentum. And this is a
right.
really good segue into the topic today.
There you go. There
Okay,
you
this is a
go.
really good segue in, because this is how often we repeat those negative patterns. We get
Uh-huh.
caught back up in those same cycles, even though it's, like the appearance of it sometimes can look a little bit different than the previous appearance.
Right,
But
right.
then we find we're repeating cycles and patterns,
Hmm.
right?
Well, we're repeating in a lot of cases this term right here. We're going to break this down because I think that it deserves to be opened up and
Okay, let's
talked
do it,
about,
Tony.
right? Um, we will often say, especially for those in grief, my gift was born out of pain. I was born out of trauma. I was born out of unfortunate situations and had to make the best out of it, right? So now, today's topic, resisting your healing
Yeah.
and understanding the consequences of repeating pain, right?
Yeah. Are you having an issue with your internet?
No, it's my camera. It's
Oh, okay.
doing its own thing. So that's what you hear. You see, that's what you're seeing. You're seeing that flicker. I don't know what to do or anything like that. I mean, I blacked out and came. So I'm watching it on Instagram as well. So but it's still working. It's still going.
No,
I
no,
don't
I
know
was
what's
just I
going
just
on.
was just checking, just to kind of, just be aware if that was the case. No, listen, you know what? Well, I'm really excited that we're gonna be ripping this to shreds.
Right,
And we're
right.
gonna be freaking slaying those giants.
Well, and that's part of it, right? You and I talked earlier. So let's dive into it, right? Let's um let's talk about the first part of this, resisting your healing.
Nah. Oh, I know
Right?
that one. I know that one personally.
Resisting your healing. Because
Yeah.
I've had to dive deeper into this as well,
Mm.
as because after I got off the phone with you this morning, I started thinking about it. Am I resisting? Am I doing what I'm supposed to do? And um sitting in faith, right? Because
Hmm.
you got to practice what you preach. If you're going to preach faith, you got to preach unadulterated faith. No matter the situation,
Amen to that one.
no matter
Okay.
the situation, you have to look at the situation and go, "This is out of my hands. I trust.
Yeah.
I trust my ancestors. I trust God. Whatever you believe in or whatever you don't believe in, have faith in that, right? As long as it makes you a good person. I don't push nothing on nobody and don't want nobody to push nothing on me. I would love to learn about what gives you strength, right? And I encourage you to allow others to attach themselves to it until they can develop their own. So resisting
Yes.
that healing, right,
Yes.
is
Resist the
one thing
healing.
that I denied myself for the longest time, especially after some losses and things like that. The depth of the hurt that was associated with that, and I had to go back in. I had to talk to my ancestors. I had to go really, really deep inside of it to figure out, where's this attached to? Where's this chain that I'm holding in present day, and that's keeping me stubborn from releasing it. Then it dawned on me. It came from long before I was born. It was something that was attached to me because I refused to give up on a fight. So I had to resist the healing because I saw the other side of it because I wanted to be there for other people. And now I sit here present day, understanding that reality. I resisted my healing because I would thought I was better off to be able to be there for other people to aid them in theirs. So I neglected myself. And the
Well,
ancestors that came before me neglected themselves. And that's where I'm tied to, right? And as much as we like to think about how much we have healed and things like that, how far are you willing to go to truly heal? I want to get your thoughts on that.
okay, so you put a lot here on the table, so let's just sort through this. So, first of all, healing is painful.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And healing it's a process. The process itself can be quite painful because we have to sit with whatever it is we need to heal from, whatever trauma or traumas. It could be like an avalanche of traumas. And we just have to start to sit with, and as we heal through one, we can start to heal through the other. But we don't like to do that as humans. Our flesh does not want that happening. And we like to be distracted. And, there's that expression, you can run, but you can't hide.
Yes.
Because no matter what, it's going to come and it's going to bite you in the freaking ass. And it can take a really big chomp. So depending on how much junk is in your trunk is how big that bite is going to be. Because I know that. And we can be very delusional with ourselves. Right? We can yeah, I know I'm doing my healing, first of all, it takes attention. It takes work. There's pain. There's tears. It's healing. It's not a tiptoe through the tulips kind of situation, right? So we like to avoid at all costs as human beings. Oh, we don't want to do that. So I'm only going to speak for myself because I, like you, Tony, I'm not here to push any of my beliefs on anybody. But, I'm going to be 62 this Monday, and I've definitely been around the block many, many, many times. So when I talk, I really just share from my own personal journey, right? And I know that I'm going to give you a very specific. This past May was 21 years for my husband's passing. And the Holy Spirit convicted me huge. And the Holy Spirit said to me, Andrea, if you would have been in the position with God, how you are today, and your relationship and how you walk with him and how your obedience is here, your experience in all of your traumas would have been different. And the experience for your children would have been very different. And I was bawling, man. I was bawling on many levels. It was one of those anniversaries of my husband's passing that I really was feeling, right? Because some years, to be honest with you, the dates can just fly by. I don't even realize that day, we're actually on that day in the calendar. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But this past May, I knew it was the anniversary for him, and I was a mess from that, but I knew the truth of what the Holy Ghost was saying to me, and that was so true. And I had to repent because for 3.5 decades, I was doing everything in the new thought, new age. I was all of the world, and I was doing and using those modalities. Oh, to heal, I'll do Buddhist chanting, I'll do, and I kept seeking, but the Holy Spirit convicted me, and that was the truth for me, and only for me. I'm not here for anybody else to tell anybody else whom and how they should or what they should believe, but that was just true. So saying that, and because we're talking about ancestral trauma, so I don't know if I've really ever shared this in this series. I may have shared it when I was a guest on your podcast. But my late mother was married before she married my father, and her first husband had passed away. And she was a couple of years younger than I was when I lost my husband. And my brother and sister were similar ages to my children when they lost their father. So there's already one generation where that's same. But my mother, and I was thinking about this today, I know, because I've had a horrible time with grief and loss. And I think, you know, I love my mom, and she was an awesome, awesome woman. And she was very strong. She was very progressive, and, you know, she was a great person. But my mother wouldn't accept certain things. And would she not accept? Being in ill health. She could be hooked up to machines because she just had her cancer removed from her body. And you'd say, "Hey, Blanche, how you doing?" And she'd say, "Perfect." So she raised us having to always, even though we could be sick or I could be like in that space of grief, and I felt like I had to show up and be perfect. Do you follow me?
I do. I'm following
Okay.
you.
So there's like already the dysfunction. So she never shared her feelings of when she lost her parents, right? She never talked about that. She never talked about possibly the fear and the pain and the insanity of her experiencing the grief from when she lost her first husband. Didn't make the space for me to talk about that when I lost mine, or
Right.
even when I lost my father. So it just perpetrates, and it makes me wonder. And I do have to have a conversation with my brother one day, because it's like he's the keeper of all of the stories and things, and he's almost 10 years older than I am. So my dad passed. I was at an age I wasn't interested in asking about the ancestors of our family. I was 22. Who really cared?
Right.
Now I'd like to know these things, but I don't really have anybody to ask. So I do have to go to my brother and see. So, and I can go to my ancestors myself, because you shared your process of how you do it. You've
Right.
shared that with me. So I know that I can absolutely, you know, take and lead myself through that process. But, you know, we're talking ancestral, right? Which can
Mhm.
go 6, 7, 8, 10 generations back. But even just to start the healing and to look at the resistance and to look at the insanity of what one is living, just go back to your own parents or go back to your grandparents. And I think that that's a really good place to start. That's a great place to start the process. I'd
I
like
want
your
to add
thoughts
to
on
that.
that.
I want to add to that because I do believe, yes, you know what I'm saying? But then that's where we separate generational
From
trauma, generational
ancestral.
from ancestral, right? You know, all because if you've known these individuals, it's not like they're ancestors. They're people that you've known that have passed on. I'm talking about the ones that you didn't know. So what I've learned to do since we started this journey, right, it's taken me along a path of repetitive. I'm not looking at repetitiveness in my grandparents or my father or my
But did
mother.
you know your
Oh,
grandparents?
yeah, oh yeah.
Oh,
I
so
knew
for
I
me,
knew
I
three
didn't.
generations of grandparents.
Right. And
I
so for
knew
me,
my grandmother, my grandfather, my great grandmother, and my great great grandmother.
you're
So
very lucky.
I knew those three.
So, okay. So I want
And
to ask
so
you something there.
I have a deep embedded understanding of where that lineage comes from. And I've heard the stories, beautiful stories.
So, quick question for you, and then
Yeah.
continue. So, for somebody like myself, because there probably are other people, other individuals watching our podcast who could be in the same situation for me. I didn't know my grandparents,
Right.
and I didn't know my great grandparents or anybody beyond that. So, would that be then considered that's where my ancestry would start,
No,
because I didn't know them?
no. For the simple fact of when, okay, let's define the word ancestral.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, I think that's a good place.
Um, it's funny that we're talking about this because I was watching a movie last night, or actually this morning. No, last night I was watching a movie last night, The 13th Warrior. Now a lot of people might be like, "Oh my God, you know, it's such a corny movie." I really enjoyed the movie. It doesn't really matter, right? But there were some things in there. There was a prayer that was said. And I want to share this with you, and then let this make sense, right? Just let it sink in, and let's dissect it a little bit when we think about ancestors. So they come from a long line of Northmen, Vikings, you know, warriors, people, you know, that are just out here doing doing crazy, amazing things, right? From back to the beginning. And the prayer started as, um, "Lo, there do I see my mother. Lo, there do I see my father. Lo, there do I see my sisters and my brothers." In the line of back to the beginning. Now, this is the key to it. Back to the beginning. Lord, they do call to me, meaning that they calling to you from a place that they've already been, back from the beginning. So when we think about the ancestors, let's go back to the beginning of where your lineage started.
Okay.
They bid me take my place among them, meaning you want me to come sit amongst the people who set the way for me. So that's beyond anything. Like this is back to the beginning. Let's go deeper into what that means. Your ancestors are the ones who started your bloodline. Back to the beginning. Meaning that when we leave this place, depending on what your belief system is, you will be amongst those that was here long before. So when we think about it, depending on what you believe, you're looking at times before Christ. You're looking at times when the earth was first started, right? Because we all started from somewhere. So to think that when we were first created and things like that, that our bloodline didn't start then, if depending on what you believe, if you believe that, you know what I'm saying, our lives were already written out and things like that, we carry information so that the next person or the next generation can do better than what we did. If we go back to the stories that you read in the Bible and things like that, then you have to go back and go, wow, if you look at how generations was wiped out in order to come back clean again. They carry those information, then one generation comes up and go, we're not going to do what they did, right? You know what I'm saying? And you're looking at 5-6 generations of that, where it was wiped out and had to come back clean again, right? So we look at the generation that we're in now. How many times have our bloodline? How many times have those generations been wiped out in order to come back clean? So let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning. This is where it starts. That's deep. That's really, really deep, right? Because now you really have to think about your lineage. You look at where you are right now, and let's think about it, because all of these things are passed down. Regardless if you didn't know your grandparents, your grandfathers, or anything like that, or those that came before, you carry something with you that was passed down long before, that was passed down to them, and so forth and so forth. You are the child.
Got it.
And once we tap into what that looks like and begin to really understand it, then we can begin to break the chain and go, you know what? This stops here. Now, depending on how you live your life, are you repeating pain that has been passed down to you? Because for one, if we look at our mothers and we look at our fathers, we emanate through relationships what we learn. But now, who did they learn it to? And who did they learn it from? And so forth and so forth. All of these things are learned behavior, but we all started off with the great intentions of, you know what? I want to reap what I sow. I want to plant a seed to harvest. I want to be able to live off the land and the promises that was given to me. And somewhere down the line, someone came along and said, you know what? I think I'm going to mess that up a little bit. And then from that trauma, someone else came through because they watched what was going on. And you either accepted it or you didn't. You either became a warrior or a victim. So now let's think about how long that has been passed down. How many victims have this produced? How many warriors have it produced? Are you a byproduct of that? And if so, what are you doing in the present moment to either capitalize on it, teach others to be better, or capitalizing on it and teaching others to do the same. This is where my mind goes when I think about the ancestors, because I think about the present day and I go, no, if I say that I am my own individual, I understand the pain that I have endured. I do not want that for the next. Now, although, and I'm very upfront about when I say this, my bloodline dies with me. So I have no one to pass this on to. So I changed my mindset and said, if I understand that I'm not going to pass this on to anyone, I now have to change the way I view life. And I became a servant from the deep and better understanding of pain. And I see my brothers and my sisters out there. And I say that in wholeheartedly, right? Not just, I see the human race. And I go, if I can change one person and give them something of me to hold on to, will it be able to change their trajectory or the trajectory of how they heal from their ancestors? Maybe how they can capitalize on what their ancestors have set up for them. But the knowledge is back then.
Right.
So it's deeper than what we think. It's up to you about how far you're willing to go in order to understand. That's the key to it, I believe. That's just, again, my thoughts. But of course, we are talking about a deep conversation.
No, for sure. And you saying all of that, Tony, you know, it's hitting me this way, and maybe it's hitting other viewers or those that will see the replay of this. But, you know, I have 2 kids, and I know that I definitely had passed on definitely some forms of dysfunction. Right?
Yeah.
But through the dysfunction that I passed on, I also passed on to them, and I do believe they took note of it. And I do believe that I needed to position them for themselves, for their own traumatic healing of the losses that they had endured, showing them that there's another way and another process to healing. Even though I resisted at times, you know, as a mom, I had to do it because I had to do it for myself, but I had to also do it for my kids, who are then, I don't know, hopefully they'll have children of their own. So hopefully, you know, the bloodline will continue on. I have nephews, I have nieces. So I think even though they may not be directly my children, they're still part of my tribe, my family. Right? So interesting. And I do believe we do this work not just for ourselves. We do this work we start for ourselves, especially when it comes to healing. I don't think, and you and I have had this conversation about when we made it specific to facilitators of grief counselors, but I think in order to be the example of healing and to lead people through a process, one has to have walked that walk. You can take all the courses and get all the certification that you want. You can read, you can study, you can do your practicals. If you're going to school for, you're going to school to be a psychotherapist or a therapist, but truly one has had to walk the walk. That is my belief. Where I come from.
Yes. But now here's where I think it gets kind of quirky, right? And this where those lines need to be tied in. How many times have we walked the walk? How many times?
It's like I feel like I've been on a merry-go-round.
Right, exactly. But this is just in your lifetime. This is just in your lifetime.
Right.
Okay, so let's break it down. How many times have you repeated the same relationship and then blame the others and go, you're just like the last person I was with. Right? Or you go, oh my God, you remind me just of that person that I was with. It didn't work out too well for them, but yet you chose this person to be a part of your life. You chose this person to be in your life, but you kept doing it over and over. And this is where that saying insanity, right?
Oh
Insanity
yeah.
is what? Repeating the same things over and over again, expecting different results. How many times do we get caught up in the motion of insanity with different people, but
Not,
because
not even people. It could
it
be
could
a
be a situation,
situation. It
it
could
could
be a
be different things,
circumstance. It could be financial. How
right?
many times, how many times maybe within a certain family and their history, their generations, their lineage, did they have to declare bankruptcy? Did
Mm-hmm.
they, or you hear it about the systemic, systemic poverty, or so the systemic trauma.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so when we take that and break that down and things like that, right? If we go back to the beginning, I can almost guarantee that we all started off as something different.
Yeah.
We all started off as something different. We all started off from a place where it was probably prosperous. We were probably blessed beyond our uh, blessed beyond our imagination. And somewhere down the line, someone was tested and it
Mm,
changed the trajectory. They was given a choice. There was somebody long before us that said, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck it.
yeah.
And they gave up. Or there's some people that said, you know what? No. This is what do we call our entrepreneurs, our philanthropists nowadays. Now, if you look at that and things like that, that stuff comes from somewhere. If you can watch the children that come out here that start lemonade stands,
Yeah.
out here selling candy bars and magazines for 5 cents, things like that. That comes from somewhere. Their parents will often go, I don't know where he got that from. You're dancers. I don't know what it, especially if like me, my son was a dancer. I'm not a dancer. I can boogie, but I can't dance. Okay, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. With my son, he was a dancer. Loved it.
Right.
He'll tell you where he got it from. I go, you didn't get that from me. Everybody go, you have to get it from somewhere. Don't think just because of the color of my skin, I know how to dance. I don't know how to dance. When I dance, it's like a scarecrow on crack. I will hurt everybody on the dance floor. You don't need that problem. Okay, you don't need it. But he got it from somewhere. So maybe somewhere down the line in my lineage, and one of my ancestors loved to dance. Right? Me, I'm more of a creative individual. I see things and I see beyond that, and I go, I wonder what I can create out of this.
And you got that. You got that from somewhere.
Right. I got that from somewhere. I'm not afraid to explore failure. I'm not afraid to go out there and say, I'm going to do this to the best of my ability. And no matter what, at least I did it.
Right.
Right. There was a point in time where when I used to fight all the time, and I would say, no matter what, I'm not running. I've never had a fear of anyone. That comes from somewhere, right? I've never had a fear of anyone or anything or any situation. Never have, never will. And I've learned that, hey, no matter what, you're going to have to deal with this. You're going to have to deal with it today, or you're going to have to deal with it tomorrow or somewhere down the line. Deal with it right now. And then I learned how to be humble. So I trace that back and I go, what part of my ancestors did this warrior mentality come from? But also, where in my ancestry did the creativity to want to do do things that's never been done in the world. What part of that? What part of the where do these things come from? Right?
Right.
And so now if you take that now, I also look at what part of my ancestry did I pick up
Right.
not having healthy relationships, not wanting to be or being afraid. Now this is where that scaredness come in. What part of my life, well, what part of my ancestry comes from where I'm afraid of letting people in? Who hurt who?
It could also be at what point in the family tree could there have been a soul tie made? It could be, where did a generational curse begin in our
Yes,
ancestral line,
yes.
right?
Remember a few episodes back, I said, and these are my words. I said, what I've always felt as if I was paying for something that I had never
Yeah,
done before. How
right.
many other people feel that way?
And I wonder within, like my mom was a pretty, as I said, both my parents, my father and my mom, were pretty progressive in their thinking.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't even know if that their generation or their circle of people that they were, their peeps, were talking about soul ties and ancestral curses. And I don't even know if my grandparents'
Yeah.
generation, and go back to my great and back there, was, I don't know. Were they? I mean, we know our generation.
Right.
It's very
So
much a part of our world where you hear this thing about soul ties and generational curses, because maybe they just weren't talking about it, so they didn't even know about it to break it, so that by the time you and I came along in our families for our
mhm.
generation, and then we had our own children. But
So
you know what? The buck stops here, because I love it.
that's what I mean, right? I
I love it
remember
that
telling my
Tawana told
sister.
us. Was it Tawana told us in the last episode? Maybe it was her, and Renette also said it. I can't remember which guest we had that had said it. Not by us doing this work that we're doing now here today,
Mhm.
we are breaking it.
Right. And I love that you just said that right there, right? Because I think about the pain, right? Um, that the depth of pain that most people endure, including myself. So when I say this, I'm not bringing anything up from anyone else. This is just from my own experience and things like that, right? I had gotten so used to the pain that it was a familiar thing to me,
Right.
right?
And
I
that's very
wasn't
common. And that is very common.
right, and so now when you become familiar and you become comfortable in the pain and things like that, that has to come from a place where someone has taught you that, hey, through
Right.
pain, this is how you survive.
We role
Right?
model, like my
We
mom
don't
role
want
modeled for
right,
me.
right. Now,
Right?
when we look at the depthness of that, though, where did that start? Because most people will experience pain. It's just like if you put your hand on a hot pan, right? You
Mhm.
eventually pull your hand away and go, that hurts.
Yes.
You do that 2 or 3 times, you build up calluses. Then after a while, you don't mind touching the hot pan. And people look at you like, what's going on? Oh man, I'm used to it. You ever hear this? You ever hear this phrase? And this phrase gets everybody. I pay attention to it.
What is
Oh
it?
man, I'm used to it.
What about the phrase, that's just who I am?
It's just or we quick to accept. Oh man, it's just the way life is, man. My life has
Honestly,
always been this way. I don't know how, you
yeah.
know,
When I
it is
hear
what
that,
this
when I hear
this phrase,
that,
it is what it is. Oh
when I
man, it
hear
is
things
what it
like
is.
that, Tony, it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. Especially the one where people define themselves. Yeah, but I've always been like that. But that's
Yeah.
just the way I am. And it's
Ever
like,
since I was a kid, life just gave me a bum hand.
I want to do remember like in the old movies? get it together where that's the
Yeah,
face.
yeah. But now,
Get it
see, what if it's
together.
not their fault though? What if that is blood? What if that is blood ties to your ancestors?
No,
What
for
if
sure. And
at
that's
some
probably
point,
what they heard. They probably heard that, and
uh,
that one heard it.
but
Have you
I think a
ever?
lot of it has to do with teaching.
Yeah.
I
So
think a
there's
lot of it
this.
has to do with teaching. I think at some point, when we were manifested into this world, when we were created, we were given a choice at some point, and maybe, just maybe, someone made a decision and said, "I'll take this over here." Maybe,
Maybe.
maybe they said, "I'll take this over here," because they said, "You know what? I don't want the easy road. I want the hard road." And I think, and this is just, tell me what you think about this. I think at one point there was a cycle that was broken and a new cycle that was formed through
Mm,
that decision where they said, "I'll take this over here because I can see the long term benefits." And then they got caught up and they lost track.
yeah.
And they said, "You know what? I can't get out of this." And they became stuck. And that was the cycle of pain. And
Right.
then and then they had kids. The kids grew up watching them.
Yes.
And they said, "You know what? Sometimes life will punch you in your mouth. You just gotta suck it up. You gotta keep it moving." And then their kids got punched in the mouth too. They said, "I don't want
Suck
to
it
do
up,
this anymore."
Buttercup. Got to keep
Yeah,
it
they got to
moving.
suck it up. It is what it is, right? I got to keep it moving. Things like that.
So,
I'm thinking over a period of time.
for sure. So I want to use this little illustration.
Mm-hmm.
As I heard it somewhere, can't remember. But, this woman makes a turkey and she makes it a specific way using a specific type of pan.
Uh-huh.
And maybe the daughter or the granddaughter asks the woman, "Oh, mom, grandma, how come you make your turkey like that and you use this specific pan?" And the woman thinks for a minute and is like, "You know what? I don't know. I just saw my mother do that."
Uh-huh.
Now that generation of woman is in that same house. So now the mother goes to her mother and says, "Hey, mom, why is it that you always blah, 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 cooked your turkey, this specific?" And she says, "I don't know. That's what I saw my mother do." And
Yes. Back
you
to the
can just
beginning.
keep going back, exactly, back to the start, back to the originating root of our ancestors. More times than not, it has just been so mindlessly done, sometimes intentionally, it depends. And a lot of things are just the dysfunctions and the horrors of the traumas just passed down from generation to generation to generation to generation. And granted, I think these things do play a part in it, of at what part in time in the world and of history and of where one was living at that time. So there's a lot of factors, I think,
Mm-hmm.
that
Let's
could be
break it down, though.
attributed.
Let's break it down. Let's think about the term narcissist, right?
Right.
Narcissists are made. They're not born. No one wakes up and says, "I'm
Um,
going to be a narcissist," right? And the reason being, maybe somewhere down that line, someone said, "Nope, I'm going to get you before you get me," right? And
Right.
now the next person that comes in line may not have the same trait. Maybe they look at it and go, "I don't want to be that way." But
Right.
then it takes that one kid that comes out and go, "You know what? Yeah, they already have this mentality because the information was already transferred to them. But
Right.
now it becomes more of a natural thing for them to be that way, right?"
Yes.
And so then they grew up into the world, and they are very clever narcissists. But let's go a little bit
Yeah.
deeper. Let's go a little bit more sadistic when it comes down to it.
Okay.
Let's
Take it
look
there,
at,
Tony.
let's look at the serial killer.
The witch.
The serial killer,
Ooh,
right?
Tony,
The
you're dark
one that
today.
comes out there that goes, maybe, just maybe, would that happen a few generations before that individual was born? Maybe that person had gone through some things and just was like, I don't care about the world no more. Their life has been beating me up so much. People have mistreated me so bad that I don't want no one else to be able to do this to me. Maybe life had taken so much away from that individual that when this particular person was born, they labeled him a psychopath or a sociopath. And at an early age, he realized that he was born without the emotions.
Mm.
Maybe he does have the emotions, but they're so deep embedded into that thick blood tie that they never had the chance to come out. And that kid go, people have hurt me. Or maybe he learned, people have hurt me. Why should I not hurt them first? And they learned from a very early age, it was something embedded in them to go, well, women have hurt me before. And it could have just been something at a very early age. Right.
But their coping skills now
the coping skills
are dysfunctional.
Right? Let's think about let's go a little bit deeper now. Let's go a little bit deeper. Let's go to the hunters.
Mm.
Let's go, because hunters and gatherers, right? You know what I'm saying? Let's go to the hunters. Somewhere down the line, someone said, I can't think about the emotional aspect when it takes for me to because I have to
see
provide.
That would be me today.
Right.
If you put a gun in my hand and I had to kill a living animal, I honestly don't know if I could do it. Maybe if I was so desperate and I hadn't eaten in forever. But then
I don't have to be desperate, right? If I was to go off today and someone said, if we give you a knife, I don't necessarily need a gun. I would go, you put me here, let me see what's around me. I got deer, raccoon, I got squirrel, I got fish, and things like that. So now my mind is already thinking, I need to make a spear, I need to make a fishing pole, I need to make a bow and arrow with arrows. I got a knife.
Right.
I'm going to survive.
Right.
I am going, because instinctively to me, it's like I have to survive, but I have to know how to move as well, right? I have to know how to move in order to trap. I have to know in order to move, in order to provide shelter, right? When it comes down to being in a crowd of people, I don't necessarily need to lead the crowd, because the ones in the back are the ones that need the protection. Because when people attack you, those are the ones that are going to get hit first. So what happens is that now our elderly, the people who carry the stories, are back there. The younger generation are strong enough, that's why they're in the front. But they always got somebody up there who's so arrogant to think that he knows the way. He or she knows the way, right?
No, you know what, Tony? It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true, because if you think about things, okay, not even about yourself, but think about people you know. Like I have a, and it may be a really silly example to use, but I have a couple of friends who literally you could give them a potato and they could create a massive, delicious meal from.
Right. That's what I mean.
Where do they learn that from? That is a learned behavior. That is a learned technique.
Yes. Think about that, right? People who have had families that may have not had much in this world will go, if you give me a potato and an onion, I can feed my family off of one potato, one onion. Here's something. I'm glad that you brought that up, right? And this has to come from somewhere as well. I look at what my grandmothers did at holidays um,
Mm.
at family reunions, and we come from a big family and stuff like that, right? And they go, I don't know how I'm going to do it, baby. I don't know how I'm going to do it. We got all the family here, but then they always kept the smile on their face. And when it came time for it, they produced this feast that will blow your mind.
Right.
I have to think, where did
Right.
you get that from? But then I look back on my life, and again, this is where I go back and I reflect on mine.
Yes.
I've always felt out of place.
Out
I
of
always felt
place?
out of place because
Yeah.
I didn't know how to connect with people.
Mm.
From the time I was 6 years old, I lost a part of me that was very innocent. I was thrown into a
Yeah.
world to where it was very valid, to where people I saw things differently. I seen what people were capable of doing, and I went, I'm gonna have to. Mm-mm. I know it,
Yes.
and I would never say anything, but I learned how to maneuver and
Right.
things like that. I learned how to stay in the shadows. I learned how to keep my mouth shut. When you know what I'm saying, I learned to take my ass whoopings throughout life. And so now sitting here today thinking about that, like, you know, that's embedded in me somewhere. That's a blood tie that I have to one of my ancestors, or maybe
Yeah.
multiple. And I think to myself, like I tell people, I'm a battle dog. Which one of my ancestors was the fighter? Which one of my ancestors was the survivor?
Or you know what? How many? It could
And
be
how
not
and
which
again,
one. It could be how many.
how many?
How
Because
many
that
of
was
my
passed down.
ancestral line was successful? How much of my ancestral line faced enormous trauma, defeat, horrible situations and circumstances? Interesting, isn't it?
Let me ask you a question. Let me
Yeah.
ask you a question. When it comes down to pain and things like that, is
Physical
there
or emotional or both?
all
Okay. All right.
physical, emotional, spiritual? Um, when we think about those things
Yes.
in its entirety, how do we break the cycle to allow others to become the better versions of themselves because they have to learn through our failures, correct?
Okay. So I could answer that for myself and my family. So I've shared already about how my mom was such a strong lady, and there were things that seemed like we weren't allowed to say.
Mm.
Like you weren't really allowed, or we felt like we weren't really allowed to say, I don't feel well, or I feel like I'm going crazy from this grief, like just things.
Mm-hmm.
And it was oh, you were raised by strong parents who could be on their deathbed and you're saying, how are you? And they say perfect. It's mixed signals, right?
Right,
No,
right,
not
yes,
perfect.
yes.
Okay. So that being said, I really recognized with my own children that I needed to do something different with them and for them
Mm-hmm.
when it came to expressing. Now, did I always hit the mark? No. I freaking missed the mark lots of times and made a lot of mistakes as a mom. But I did recognize that when George passed, I knew I needed to get myself for grief work, but I knew I needed to get my kids in doing grief work, working with someone specific and going to bereavement groups. That just even that topic alone. And then when my son was starting with the depression, when it started to hit him around close to 17, because sometimes grief and the depression will be delayed, and it bit him in the ass.
Yes, yes.
Right. So I knew I needed to show up differently for him than my mother didn't really show up for me. So I hope I'm kind of answering what you're saying. So I think when it comes to ourselves, if we can take a look at ourselves, and it's not always easy to do that, Trust me, I know that. Okay. It's not always easy to take accountability and personal responsibility for, and I'm going to drop an F-bomb right now because I can't think of a better word.
Go ahead, drop
for our fuck ups. Okay. But if we can do that and continue to, learn, because it is something that has to be learned. And often we have to go outside of our core family to learn that skill. That's often a really new skill for the individual to learn and to start to, I loosely use the term master because I don't know if we really ever master it, but just kind of loosely in that context of when it comes to the healing and the learning and to do something different and to looking at things with a different set of eyes.
Yes.
With a different set of eyes. And if we look at things from the way the Creator God looks at things, or when we look at when I look at myself, if I look at myself with my human eyes, my fleshly eyes, yeah, some days, most days.
Exactly, because we are human beings, right?
Right.
And that is the beautiful part about this world. I believe, and again, this is just me. I could be wrong, but what if I'm right? I don't believe there's any wrong or right in there or anything there, but I do think that there are avenues that you can go down to challenge yourself.
And there's lessons.
And
there may not be wrong or right, but there's
lessons to be learned in the questions that you ask.
Yes.
And so my thought is, what if I take this challenge, I heal on a deeper level? Now, although the reality of my life is that I can't have any more kids, who am I then passing this on to? Is this it?
But Tony, I'm getting a really big hit right now.
Right.
But I think plays a part.
You understand what I'm saying, though, right?
I do.
Is this it? Does everything die with me? Or is the information that I am gathering? Because, I mean, to be honest with you, I am the last of my bloodline.
But how about this, Tony? How about this one? How about if it starts with us in the forgiving to our bloodline, the forgiving of the traumas?
Does this bring peace?
Right.
Now, and again, this is where I say with myself, and again, I'm only speaking from a place of understanding my own lineage. All of this stops with me.
Yes. I've always said this. Things start with us and they end with us.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But now here's what the other side of it is. There are people who have people that carry on their bloodline. Well,
that's just it. You have two. You have how many nieces do you have? And you're doing this work just not for yourself.
I got four. Now they're going to carry on someone else's bloodline just as well as my sisters.
Right.
I am the last
modeling for them.
But now see, here's the thing. I am the last of my bloodline.
Yes.
My bloodline got cut off. My father, my younger brother, which was supposed to come behind me, right? My son, which is supposed to come behind him.
Right.
Our boys carry on the men's bloodline.
So are you talking? I said only the boys? No, do the women carry it on as well?
No, because the women are meant to carry on the bloodlines of their spouse.
Oh, so Ryan would then carry on for his father's bloodline.
And for yours as well.
Oh, and for mine as well.
The women carry.
What about Natalie? What about Natalie? Does she have anything?
Okay, so when women get pregnant, and I could be wrong, you know what I'm saying? Please correct me. Please correct me. I'm not opposed to understanding things like that. But when women become impregnated, they carry the seed of the person that they're with.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Right? They carry the seed up there. And then when they're born, that person's bloodline is born through that. And through the women, through the women, they pass that on, which is a beautiful thing.
So then what I'm taking away from this is, so when we had Renette on as our guest, and because the work she does is to heal the traumas of the wombs, right? So the men is the bloodline and the women is the womb.
Right. Because that's what, think about it this way. Let's go back to some ancient teachings, right? Why do you think kings used to have multiple women? They would go, this one will bear many children for me.
Got it.
This one over here will bear many children for me. And they had multiple women, so it didn't create a sense of incest. That's why they would go around, hey, for 1,000 rubies, I will marry your kid. And they would bring these families into royalty. Right? And then they would take these young women and have multiple kids with them. And then the heir through the throne was normally a young man.
Right.
This young man would carry on the bloodline. Right? But also, if something happens to this young man, there's another young man from over here that was born into royalty, brought his family out of poverty, right? And the women was done what? Traded off. Now, do I agree with that? Because that's just another way of saying, hey, I'm going to pimp out my daughter for money, right?
Yeah.
It sounds kind of strange, but that's what it is. And so they would do that. They would trade the women and trade the children. They go, you have a young lady. She's going to be ripe for bearing fruit. And and these young women were young. They were very young. Do I agree with it? I don't. All right. You don't mess with children. And I've always been a firm believer of that. I think that part of me comes from somewhere where I was a protector of women and children. And always will be. I do not agree with a lot of things, and I will never agree with those things. Because of I have there's just some things I just can't stand by.
Yeah, well, that could be that could be another podcast all on its own, Tony.
But I think to be honest with you, I think it just comes from somewhere of deep embedded protectiveness of the people that I care about.
Yeah.
And I care about a lot of people. I may not often be able to show it through words, but I can do it through actions.
Yes.
I may not often.
Well, sometimes we can't. Sometimes we can't verbalize. We just can't find the wording to something to say.
I think that comes from something different, right? Through pain, that was passed down through me. There was a part of me that said, no more.
Yes.
I don't want the people that I care about to ever have to experience this pain. So when it comes down to it, if you call me, you have to understand what you're unleashing, and you can't question what I'm going to do.
No.
Right? Because I'm coming because you called me. Make sure you call me with a purpose now and stand out of my way because I'm coming. Right?
It's so true, Tony.
I'm very protective, and I think that part of me has been passed down through me through a warrior in my family, or warriors, right? People that was just like, no matter what, I will die and protect my family to no matter what. But I also have people in my family that are just like, I don't want nothing to do with that.
Yes.
Like, that's your problem, right? And I think when you look at that, let's look at the lineage and the people and the roles that people play in those, in those aspects and things like that. These things are so written in our DNA, within our blood and things like that. Like, I believe that we have messages hidden in the blood that tells us or helps us choose, right? Because not every warrior starts off as a warrior. Most warriors start off as cowards.
Right.
And something happens and they go, no more. I'm not running anymore. And then they realize that, you know what? I'm not afraid.
They realize they don't have to be a victim anymore.
Right.
Because when you're the victim, put yourself in a different position, and you've placed yourself in a position that's going to empower you and give you that power. It's a whole different feeling. Okay, so we're past the top of the hour. And so I want to ask you while we're on. So today is only week 6 because we've had a few interruptions along the way. So today would have been our last episode. So we have 2 more phenomenal episodes that we're going to be bringing. So I just want the viewers to know now when they can find us next. Will we be back in 2 weeks?
In 2 more weeks, we're going to be talking about breaking the cycle and understanding. Sorry. Breaking the. We're going to be talking about understanding how to sit with your pain.
Yes.
And hopefully we can bring in a few more panelists. Things like that.
So we'll be wrapping this up then in November.
Yeah.
It's not going to be wrapped up today.
It's the 19th today, so on the 26th, we're going to be doing that one. We do for you guys who have been tuning in, you know what I'm saying, and things like that.
So you want to come on next Saturday?
Facebook, YouTube, and everything. Please go and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're going to get those subscribers up and things like that. Help me hit that goal, people. You know, we want to reach more and more people to get the word out there, have these conversations, things like that.
Exactly. So we want to. Then, do we want to still wrap? Do we want to be able to wrap up on the 2nd of November?
No, because I think we're going to go. I think we're going to go a little bit past that because after that, this is episode 6. So we still got 7 and 8 coming. So we're going to be in the beginning of December, which I think is going to be a great segue into the beginning of the year to what we have coming up, because we also are putting together a webinar for those who are wanting to go deeper into understanding your healing, things like that. And then also, you know, with all the other things that are coming up, not things that have already been coming up or have come up, the magazine, the conference, the groups, and etc. Right?
Tony, you got so much going on.
I always got a lot going on. I don't know why, but I always do. I always feel like I have other things to do, which I don't mind. But you also got things coming up as well, don't you?
No, most definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, but before I tell anybody anything, so let's not come next Saturday. We'll come the following Saturday,
the next Saturday,
which would be November the 2nd. And then
okay, so 14 days. That would be November.
Yeah, November 2nd. That'll be November 2nd.
So guys, tune in for that one as well.
And then the last one would be on November the 16th.
Right, which is something which is going to be able to tie all of this in together for those who have been following and things like that. We're going to tie all of this in together to understand in the totality of what it takes to heal your ancestral traumas.
Yeah, which eventually,
and breaking those chains, and finally getting to a place to accepting joy and happiness.
And the whole point of this, and the healing of our ancestral trauma is ultimately because we need to heal.
Right.
We need to heal, and we've recognized through our own journey and through the journey of our clients, the connection and the importance, right? Because right now,
better at how
we could do this for the world.
Oh my God.
Okay.
This is why we do it. This is why we do it. You know, for those who are tuning in and things like that, of course, you know, I want to say always thank you guys for your support. Keep supporting us. Share this with people that can benefit from the conversations that we have. Of course, you guys already know that we're constantly doing things. The podcast is, you know, the regular podcast, the panel discussions and things like that. These are just ways that we try to support you. By giving you information, tips, but also helping you think about how you
topics of conversation that they may not.
Right. Well, think about it this way, right? We always talk about mindfulness and things like that. So it's like when you when you can go as deep as as deep as you can, there's a sense of peace that comes along with that. But there's also a sense of how are you showing up in life, in others' lives, but
Right.
most importantly,
Oh,
how
wait.
are you showing up in your life?
But that's just it. How are other people showing up in your life?
Right.
Like,
But
what is
understanding a
reflecting
deep
back to
embedded
you?
pain, understanding those chains, that deep embedded pain, maybe you can look at the next person and have a better understanding of how to support them, how to walk with them, because we
Exactly.
can't do it alone. And we will
Exactly.
always be on a journey of understanding, learning, being a student, also being a teacher, being a carrier, but also being the deliverer of all things that you are in having the best human experience possible.
Exactly.
I think that's where
Exactly.
we need to always stay focused on when we do these things, right?
Listen,
And that's a good thing.
and I'm telling you, I find a lot of value in this expression. Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring. There you go.
Okay.
Sharing is caring, right? And with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up because I know you guys a lot of
And
things.
you got your support group going. So
I got
people,
my support group going on as
yeah,
well, and also have another podcast coming in at 6 o'clock this evening. So you guys tune in for that one as
exactly.
well.
So I
Tomorrow we
want
got
people to
4
know that,
podcasts
right?
and things like that. We have the panel discussion. I got 3 other podcasts. We're starting off in the morning. We're going to keep going throughout the afternoon
Exactly.
and evening. But before I let you go, Andrea, tell people what you got coming up. You got some
Okay.
amazing
So
things.
that's what I was. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. So I want people to, they can, I will be making a new website. It's not going to be done so fast. So for the present time, you can find me on all of the typical social media places. On LinkedIn and Instagram, I am under Andrea Brunswick. And on my Facebook, it's Andrea Julia Brunswick. If you go onto my profiles and you can support me and the other, I've been so blessed to be able to be a guest on so many podcasts, and I have more coming up for November. It's always on my social media things. I'm going to start. I haven't yet. I got my profile created on my TikTok, but I've not yet done anything with it because I don't really know how
Got
to
to get that
navigate.
going.
Yeah, I don't really know how to navigate that territory, but I'm going to learn. So I encourage you, reach out to me if you have any questions. You are looking to make some sense of your life. You can send me an email at andreajuliabrunswick@gmail.com. You can DM me on my social media platforms. Send me, if you're on LinkedIn and you find me on LinkedIn, send me a message. You find me on Instagram, you find me on Facebook, DM me, go onto my profiles. I also just want to let people know this, that I offer a complimentary discovery session where we're going to start to discover what has been holding you back. Where is that frustration?
Mhm.
Where's the frustration stemming from? All of this gets tied into what the stuff we were just talking about here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is where you can find me. That's what I'm up to. You will soon be able to find me in Tony's magazine once I get myself organized with my
All in due
article, my
time.
bio. Yeah, all in good
All in
time.
due time, right?
Yeah,
We talked about this: being patient, having grace, and having gratitude,
right.
appreciation, going forward, and knowing that the things that we put out into the world does not only benefit us, but it benefits the people that we serve.
Exactly.
And so, there's nothing wrong with questioning yourself as long as you don't stop doing the things that you do.
That's just
These
it.
things are normal.
And we don't always have to hustle and grind. We don't have
Right.
to hustle.
But see, I look at things different because I am a hustler and a grinder. I've always I'm always trying to get it out there. I'm always thinking to myself, how can I be better? What can I do to serve more people? Right. And I do it because it's part of my nature. I want to see people healing. I want to see
But
people
that's, I
become the
think,
best
different
version of
than when
themselves.
we feel like we have to hustle and we
Right.
have to grind. I think that's different things. And we can
Well,
talk
it's the
about that
same
later.
thing. It's the same thing because you have to have some sort of hustle to you.
But I think it's the attitude. I think
it's the
it's
attitude,
sometimes,
right? Yes,
see,
yes.
sometimes for women, and it's funny because, I like it that I have the female perspective and you have the male perspective. And for men, that's a very natural state of being because
Right,
you're born the hunter, you're born the protector.
right.
And for women, we're born the nurturers. And sometimes what happens to women with that hustle and grind, because we have to nurture so many and take care of so many in the way that we do, it causes overwhelm and it causes a lot of anxiety for women. I believe in men too. I believe it happens to men because we're all human. But you know where you can find me, and you know where you can find Tony? November the 2nd.
We're gonna be
We're
back
at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
We're gonna be back. So you guys keep your eyes out for that, but also stay tuned for the other things that we got coming up. If you guys haven't already, go to my website, www.mensgriefsupport.org. Go in there, check out the magazine, hit that subscription, get you guys a subscription to it. Stay informed, read the articles, know the events that are coming up. It costs pretty much less than nothing. It's $7 for a month. We offer discounts for 6 months, and
I think it would be a beautiful gift.
Yeah,
Tony, I think it would be a beautiful gift that somebody could give to a loved one.
Yes,
who is in a
and
place.
also we got the hard copies that are going to be coming out, right? So get your hard copy. You know what I'm saying? Maybe you're one of those people who want a hard copy, right? We're going to have those coming out. We're going to be putting those out on the website as well, and also go and check out the other episodes on the podcast as well. We got something for everybody. Not asking for you to subscribe if I don't deserve if I don't deserve it. But check it out. If you're looking for support, everyone that we have on there is out here doing amazing things. Reach out to them because, again, I never do anything without saying that it's never about me. It's about you. It's about your healing. It's about the path that you're going to be on. But also, it's about putting you with the individuals who are better suited to help you along your healing journey. This is just one aspect of it. You guys, we're going to close off this episode. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank
Instagram, Facebook, YouTube,
LinkedIn
on Andrea's page. Thank you guys for tuning in as well. I see you guys up there. You guys have been quiet, but you guys have been good. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. And we're going to see you guys in the next one later on tonight. If you want to see that one, you guys come back and do that. And as always, thank you guys for your support. I love you guys dearly. And you guys go out there, enjoy your day. Make sure you tell your mom Tony. I love you. And thank you to my beautiful host. And like I said, we're going to keep it going. All right. Guys, have a good one.
Peace out.